has been 3 months since I started learning Spanish. Like, I'm talking about being disciplined, learning Spanish every single day for 3 months. Isn't that crazy? And there are 2 verbs in particular that I keep coming across, and that is the verb hace and dese. So I think I cracked the code on how to perfect these 2 verbs. So I think I want to help you out on this. Okay, let's get to it. Hola, buenos, me llamo daljiimarax. If you are new here, we solo travel on this channel, but we also learn languages. And right now, we learn in Spanish. Okay, yes, we learning it together. Número 1, hace means ago or it's been. So we are talking about, timing. This happened this amount ago. It's been since, it's been blah, blah, blah. Okay? Desde means since. So this has been happening since. You were talking about something that started. That's how you use desde. So I got my notebook of sentences that I've been writing in hace, in desde, and let's start off with one. So, número 1. Fuimos a cenar hace 2 semanas. So this one I was talking about, I went out to dinner with my friend 2 weeks ago. So what I'm using here is hace 2 semanas. So the formula to use hace in that way is hace, the amount of time, and then the verb. Hace 2 semanas. Fuimos a cenar hace 2 semanas. So now that I've been learning Spanish for 3 months consistently, if somebody was to ask me to hablar español, I can say un poquito, or I can say hace 3 meses que empecé a aprender español. Or in inglés, I have been learning Spanish for 3 months. So again, hace 3 meses. So if you're thinking about like situations in your life, like how long you've been doing something, that's how you would use hace, okay? So we're gonna flip over to desde and how you use that. So earlier I mentioned that desde means since, so when something started. So this you have to talk about, like you have to use this when you're referring to like a specific time frame or something. You can't just say 2 weeks ago, like you have to have a date attached to it. Ejemplo. Another way for me to say how long I've been learning Spanish, or if I'm fluent in Spanish, if somebody were to ask me, do I speak Spanish? I can say, estoy aprendiendo español desde hace 3 meses. I have been learning, it has been 3 months since I've been learning Spanish. Versus earlier I said, I have been learning Spanish for 3 months, if that makes sense. Or if somebody really wanted to know how long, like specifically I've been learning Spanish, like when I started, another way to use desde, because you have to use this verb when you are talking, you have to use this verb when you are talking about specifically when something started. I can say, estoy aprendiendo español desde diciembre 2022. So I started, well, not just I started it 3 months ago, but I started it in December 2022. So as you can see, when you are using desde, you have to put like the time, the specific time, versus hace when you're just talking about how long ago something. So hace 3 months ago, desde specifically in December of 2022. One is very specific on the time frame when it started. One is just kind of like general, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, whatever the case may be. All right, is y'all following? And an example. So now that we got how to separate them, here's how I was able to figure out how to use them together. Because a lot of the times when I was writing these sentences, when I was practicing my Spanish, they were using, they were back to back. When I would check like the Google Translate or Spanish dictionary, they were used back to back. Ejemplo, viviendo en el apartamento desde hace 5 años. So the reason why we used it back to back desde hace 5 años is because it is still happening. I still live in this apartment. So if I lived in this apartment, like in the past tense, it would probably just be hace. But because I started living in this apartment 5 years ago, we used them together. Hace in that form is confirming that I'm still here, I'm still living here, so we're using them together, okay? So that's how I have been like trying to understand what the hell these verbs mean, and why I'm using them so much to describe past time. So again, hace, something that happened this time ago, or it's been since that happened. Well, I keep saying since because that's not right. And then desde is since this happened. When did this start happening? How long ago was that? When was it specifically? Okay. And lastly, I know that's a handful, so I wrote down some formulas to teach me like how to use this in a proper sentence. So, ejemplo número uno for hace. The formula would be hace, the amount of time, que, and then the verb. So, ejemplo, hace 3 meses que he aprendido español. Okay? Hace, first, the amount of time, 3 meses, que, and then the verb, aprendido español. Or, you could say, hace, amount of time, then the verb. So, hace 3 meses, empecé a aprender español. Hace, the amount of time, 3 meses, and then the verb, empecé a aprender español. And then, desde, the formula for this one, is going to be desde, and then the date or the timing. So, you would say, aprendido español desde diciembre de, estoy aprendido español desde diciembre de 2022. Okay, sorry, my Spanish is a little slow. Okay, we learning. Or another formula is desde hace plus the amount of time, and how you would say that in español would be estoy aprendí español desde hace 2 meses. Okay? So if you're still like stuck on like what the hell you talk about, that's too much, I gave you guys a little inside scoop on how I practice Spanish every single day and how I'm able to stay disciplined. So you should go check that out. So if you need some help on staying disciplined on what you should practice every single day and some little tips on how to learn, I say, go watch it if you want to.